So without further ado, I'd just like to invite Naomi to come and give a little bit of a talk about AAEE, and I've got your presentation over there, so I'll drive it if you like. So would you like to come up and introduce yourself? And you've got to stay a little bit focused on that little white light.
All right.
Introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Jerry, and thank you very much, everyone, for having me. My name's Naomi Findlay. I've probably met a few of you and seen some of you today at the Botanic Gardens. I do actually work for Green Adelaide for the Department of Environment and Waters, Landscape Borders and Education Officer in their northern team, supporting the community and schools with environmental education. But my background is in primary school teaching. I'm a passionate environmental educator, and got the slides coming in a second. And the convener or president of the Australian Association for Environmental Education in South Australia. So tonight I'm going to share with you a project that I coordinated last year. It was called A squared, E squared, ABC of BBB grant project. Go to the next one. I would also like to acknowledge the Kaurna people on whose land we meet today, pay my respects to their elders past, present and future, and also say Nina Mani to you guys. And hopefully you know to say Mani I back. So we'll just do it one more time. Nina Mani. Thank you. Okay, next one. Thank you very much. So for anyone who doesn't know, who is A squared, E squared, as we like to abbreviate? We are the, as I mentioned, Australian Association for Environmental Education, and we're passionate about supporting and promoting environmental education in South Australia, connecting the community and schools. Also, we do also work primarily supporting teachers, but we also connect in with education officers and community organisations as well to try and link them up to support education for sustainability in the community so that we can have a sustainable planet for the future. Let me just check my notes. I've missed anything. All right, thanks, Jerry. So just a little bit about the ABC of BBB grant project. So this was a grant opportunity put forward by Educators SA, which is sort of, I guess you'd say, the parent of education associations in South Australia. And the purpose of the grant was to increase educator engagement in environmental education through curriculum-linked resources for the Bringing Back the Butterflies program, Zoom networking sessions and social media. So you might or might not have heard of BBB. BBB is part of A squared, E squared and headed up by a few of our very passionate volunteers, Steve, Deirdre and Deborah. And Bringing Back the Butterflies is really about using butterflies, which you know everyone loves and are very engaging, as a bit of a hook to engage people in the environment. So I guess A squared, E squared is overarching, and then BBB is one of our programs. So I noted that BBB had been really effective at engaging the community, but there wasn't as much uptake from schools. And so I wanted to build those curriculum linked resources for teachers. Thank you. So the aims of the project was to link BBB with A squared, E squared, and with schools tied in all together to promote biodiversity in STEM, which is science, technology, engineering and maths, and to increase member value for A squared, E squared members. I chose to do networking and professional development on Zoom. That worked quite effectively with COVID, as you know, last year, to inspire conservation action through butterfly gardening with educators, to learn from Education for Sustainability, that's EFS experts and educator stories, and for teachers to connect with other like-minded educators. Also started social media presence to let people know a little bit more about who A²E² is and what we do, and then to share the resources once they were created. Thank you. So over the course of last year, in terms of developing the resources, I consulted with a number of educators that already had butterfly gardens at their site and who had been involved with BBB bringing back the butterflies. We met together and had a planning day to put together outlines for the resources. So I got their feedback on them, and then over school holidays last year, I wrote the resources, and then term 3, they were actually trialled by 7 or 8 teachers from about 5 different schools in South Australia, and to get their feedback before we then launched the resources in October. Thank you. So yeah, so it's very exciting. We launched these resources last year, but just this week I've actually done an update to the resources so they're all the links are correct and working. And yeah, they have had a little update. So there's 3 primary school science teaching units, all linked to the Australian curriculum. And the topic is butterflies engaging with nature, but it's, as you can see, their reception to year 2 and year 3 and 4 unit in year 5 and 6. So it's aligned to the important things in the curriculum for those year levels, but with really hands-on activities for teachers. And they have been written in a fair bit of detail. So it's something that teachers can pick up and just use quite easily in their classroom. And then I found as I was writing the manual, there was so much background information for teachers, the units, that ended up putting together a manual as well, which is to accompany the units of work with more of the scientific information for teachers in that. So as I'm sure you don't all need to be explained to, but if you don't know, it's very important in terms of increasing biodiversity and bringing back some of the butterflies highlighted in the units, the bitterbush blue and the yellow sedge skipper, as well as the checkered copper, which Jerry's just mentioned you've got a program on. So there's some of the butterflies that are highlighted as being really important ones that schools can work towards to help bring back endangered species. And sorry, I lost my speaking off the top of my head here. So yeah, so in the manual highlights those species, but then the importance of having the host plants, the plants that those butterflies need to lay their caterpillars on to then be able to reproduce and survive. And also highlighted in there is the importance of that for schools in supporting mitigating the effects of climate change through revegetation and trying to reverse the effects of biodiversity loss in their local school environment, as well as not only that, but creating amazing habitats for birds, bees and butterflies as well. All right, next slide. Just very quickly, throughout the project last year, I found the Zoom networking was really beneficial way to engage with teachers. I ran sessions that were just 45 minutes long, but they also included time for teachers to chat. It was really short presentation from a guest speaker and a Q&A, and that was really effective. I do have a handout on that I produced when I presented on this at the A²E² National Conference in WA last year. So if you're interested in running Zoom networking sessions and you'd like some tips, I've got handouts on that, but I know it's not really the main focus of the presentation today. I won't go into any more detail. And last year we also, in launching the resources, the Gardening for Nature in Your School run Professional Development Day for about 50 educators that came along and participated in workshops. So I have some fantastic volunteers that I'm working with, but as you know, volunteers, we don't have all the time in the world. So I'm hoping in the next few weeks we'll actually have videos from all of these that we'll be putting on the member section of our website. So I will try and let Jerry know when that's up, but don't hold your breath. It could be a bit longer. Thank you. This is a few of the beautiful pictures of some of the students who created butterfly gardens in their schools during the trial for the project. And I had a lot of really exciting feedback from the teachers and students. Yeah, all the teachers said the units were really engaging. The students wanted to continue work first thing the next day when they got to school. Even some students who had really struggled came away going, this is the best day, having spent all that time outdoors in nature. And really experienced teachers also found the units easy to adapt, and they really increased students' connection with nature. So it was really exciting to have that feedback. Thank you. I would like to acknowledge the A2E2 Executive Committee, BBB, our volunteers with social media, Green Adelaide, and the teachers who assisted in the trialling of the units in terms of, yeah. And the last slide. So where does that bring us to in terms of BCSA and collaboration? So what I would really love is if you can share the units with friends, the manual and a few of the other resources. Hopefully I can pull up the website just after this in a second, if we have time. Sure. Yeah. And I'll show you it very briefly, but a lot of those resources, they're not just valuable for educators, they can be used by anyone. I shared them with my neighbours and friends at running club and things like that. So not just for educators, all the resources that we put together, but if you have children at school, maybe that's something that you want to share with their teachers, something the school might find valuable, or grandkids, can let people know that those resources are available. Jerry and I have been talking about how we can collaborate, because BBB has supported a lot of schools to have butterfly gardens, but they probably need a bit of reinvigoration and a bit of support from the community. So our long-term goal is to work together and hopefully connect some of the BCSA volunteers with schools in your local area, so it's more of a community thing. And so then you can work with the school to get the butterfly garden a bit more reinvigorated and make sure the plants are all happy and growing and healthy, and add signage or whatever is most appropriate for the site. And we're also connecting with BCSA in terms of some signage for the butterfly garden trail at the Botanic Gardens. So that's very exciting. I'm not sure if there's anything you want to add there, Jerry. Okay.
Some questions from the floor.
Yeah.
I'd just like to make a comment that butterfly conservation has been involved right from the very beginning. With the setting up of the butterflies, so with the field, etc. And we've been working hand in hand all the way through. So I guess what butterfly conservation has done is provided the base information and the science from which you need to build on. So I think it's been a great team effort and a collaboration right from the very start.
Yeah, thank you.
We initially started, of course, with butterfly gardens, and now that's progressed through the schools even more better than what obviously with the expertise. So I think it's been a great collaboration right from whenever they started, 4 years ago. I think quite some time. So I think that needs to be acknowledged, the contribution of the base information that we provide.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for reminding me of that.
No, it's just that, I mean, we've never been a terribly hands-on organisation. We've been the people that have provided the information and get the science right. And I'm very delighted that we've been able to help in that way over the years.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Gary?
getting the science right, getting the connections with nature is very, very positive. I wonder whether we might be able to actually collaborate more with councils. Councils, some of the councils sort of planning to be short experience, all around, and relying on mowers, different contractors on mowers, and whatnot, grass, we actually to get council to recognise the benefits to the overall community, to connect more directly with nature. You would have significant implications.
Yeah, look, this has been a significant thing that I've seen that BBB's been doing over the last 5 or 6 years, particularly driven by Steve and Deirdre, in that they've gone to different councils and said, look, we can work with you to actually develop verges or butterfly gardens or streetscape projects in your council area, and it's worked very well. So as a group going out looking for those grants from councils and actually then building that community in that local area has been really successful. And it's been a great help to us to actually get our resources out even further.
Yeah. But I'm with Marion Council, so much fun to the laws, the opportunities, and yes, I'll just have to get that on.
In my experience, a lot depends on who the person is at the time working in council, and when that person moves on, you have to start again. Because I mean, I've been working with Naomi and Mitchell, and you think you've got it all right, and then all of a sudden that person leaves and you're back to square one.
Yeah. So
Very frustrating.
yeah, so as Jan's just observed, it's really important to have a continuous engagement with these organisations, whether they're schools or local government or even state government. And so what we've been talking about is the opportunity for us to look at all of the projects that Bringing Back the Butterflies AAEE has done, and look at all of those gardens, look at all those offsets that have been done with projects like the transport corridor projects that have been happening recently, as well as bringing in all of our butterfly sites and actually having a really good look at all of those sites and then saying what resources are needed to actually help those gardens be the habitat that we want them to be. And it's only with improvement and management are we actually going to maintain those activities. So there's lots of opportunities. So if we can build that over the next few months and actually be able to launch a sort of a joint program in the Nature Festival or whatever in spring would be the sort of ideal that we have been talking about. And so we yet to bring it to Butterfly Conservation's committee to actually say, well, these are the sort of things that we could actually do. All right. Okay, look, thank you very much, Naomi. You want to just quickly show the website, and we've got links on the Butterfly Conservation website to your resources in our resources page. So you want to just have a look at that? I'll have to stop share, I think. Just go on the...
Sorry, I should say hello to everyone on Zoom. Thank you very much for joining in and listening.
Have you got
Oh, can I bring it up and just share the screen?
so I'm not quite sure how to do that. Yeah. So if you bring up Google, and then we'll share that screen. You can share that screen. Now go back to Zoom.
Yeah.
Technology. There we go. Perfect.
Okay, so this is the website, and the section here is resources and butterfly gardening. The first part shows the those units of work for schools, and then So you can download them all, but you can also view them all on the website.
It's all going on my little hotspot here.
It's doing quite well. So you can see one of the lessons there with some examples. And then the manual, we also have a beautiful visualization that's a lovely mindfulness activity, native plant list that Deirdre has put together. So you can,
You were talking about, Gary.
yeah, so you can see some of these resources are really not, they're valuable for schools, but they're also not specific to schools. Your fantastic search for native plants, which I'm always telling schools about. So that links straight to your website, the Green Adelaide butterfly poster. And then we have some signage that has been developed and video from some students about propagating the native seeds. So there you go. Hope you find that valuable, and thank you very much for your time and listening. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions.
Good. Thank you very much.